Civilization. Progress. The good life includes comfort, friendly neighbors, convenience and security. At the same time, people engage in a quest for simplicity, solitude, and the joy of getting back to nature. They seek a green and quiet haven, away from the fear of crime and the tensions of the city's fast pace. But a potential tragedy awaits these well-meaning refugees. This is the old mining town of Jerome, Arizona, perched on the eastern side of the Black Hills, overlooking the beautiful Verde Valley. I'm Jim Byrkit, and I was born in Jerome when copper mining was still a lively activity. Like my boyhood friend, Alfredo Gutierrez here, I left this valley when I graduated from high school to seek a new life. But neither Alfredo nor I could get this place out of our blood. I visit the Verde Valley often, and after being away for more than 20 years, Alfredo has returned to Jerome to live in the house in which he was raised, to own a business, and to serve on the local school board and the city council. Like the tourists and new residents, both Alfredo and I find a refuge here from urban America's hectic pace. But there are grave signs that people are going to destroy the very thing they come to the Verde Valley to enjoy. The invasion by newcomers and former residents threatens to spoil permanently the valley's fragile geographic and biologic virtues. 90 miles north of Phoenix, almost exactly in Arizona's geographical center, lies the Verde Valley. Its 3,500-foot elevation, which provides a nearly ideal climate with a touch of the seasons and the extremes of none, helps to make it the second Eden many people seek. The striking beauty of its red rock formations adds to its charm. Where the Verde River and its tributaries, such as Oak Creek and Beaver Creek, flow, the valley is as green as its anglicized Spanish name suggests. Natural springs abound. Water, more than anything, makes real the dream. But it is the land that impresses most people. Geologic evolution has been generous. The valley is a 25 by 40 mile basin, created by the Verde Fault, which forms the Black Hills to the west, and by the Colorado Uplift, which forms the Mogollon Rim to the east. These geologic uplifts create a 7,000-foot encircling barrier, as well as marvelous scenic outcroppings and erosion features such as those near the community of Sedona. The barrier provides a feeling of pleasant seclusion and natural security, as well as a specific geographical identity, which contributes to a well-defined sense of community. Best of all, for the refuge seeker, is the fact that unlike most of the desirable land in Arizona, a great deal of the Verde Valley is privately owned and for sale. People have been living in the Verde Valley for about 10 or 12,000 years. Around 800 AD, the Indian population was becoming pretty large. Probably they were starting to grow different crops and new varieties of corn. Also, irrigation techniques improved. This enabled the people to expand even more. The population was almost exploding. Later, after their numbers became even larger, the Indians began to leave the valley. It could be that perhaps they had overdeveloped the area. Today, the Verde Valley claims one of the largest concentrations of prehistoric Indian ruins in North America. In 1583, 24 years before the English settled Jamestown, guided by Indians from the Hopi Mesas, a Spanish explorer, Antonio de Espejo, was the first white man to enter the Verde Valley. However, his interest was not to find a refuge, but to investigate mineral deposits at a site reported to him by the Indians. Centuries later, this location would become Jerome, a billion-dollar mining camp. As mine production grew in the first half of the 20th century and a large new smelter was built at Clarkdale, the valley's natural beauty became somewhat blighted. One Jerome native had this to say about early day pollution. Some people did garden, and the gardens did quite well unless the sulfur smoke came up. The smoke had sulfuric acid in it and burned everything, including our lungs and the paint on the houses. The trees in the gardens looked nice. Then one day of the smoke, and there wouldn't be a leaf left on anything. In addition, overgrazing of cattle in the late 19th century caused erosion of the valley's fragile land, destroying further the natural beauty of the area. The valley's first permanent Anglo settlement was at Clear Creek in 1865. In search of fertile land with a long growing season, men from nearby Fort Whipple established farms on the lower Verde and started the flow of immigrants which continues to this day. Donald Willard was born in this house, built in the early 1880s by his father and uncles near the Verde River in Cottonwood. They came from northern Nevada about the year 1878. They were looking for greener pastures, and they'd heard of a fine green valley, Arizona's Verde Valley, and so they came, bringing their cattle overland, grazing them along the way. However, a slump in the cattle market caused the Willards and other Verde Valley pioneers to change over to farming. Overgrazing by cattle had brought serious erosion, and along with the smelter smoke, further helped to spoil the area's lushness. But the land was still fertile enough for gardens, pastures, and orchards. Residents settled down to a quiet, undisturbed life. For the first half of the 20th century, the relationship between the Verde Valley and its people remained stable. At times, the people experienced hardships, but poverty, crime, and social ills of all kinds were never prevalent. Following World War II, Jerome's mines closed, and for a while the valley's economy was depressed. By the 1960s, however, America's growing population, with its attendant growing affluence, prompted a new wave of immigrants, eager to find some escape from the tension provoked by an industrialized society. New Yorkers, Iowans, Californians, and Texans rediscovered the Verde Valley. The mild climate, spectacular scenery, and an opportunity to own several isolated acres with an orchard and a stream made places like Camp Verde, Cornville, Rimrock, and Sedona magnets for prosperous retirees and young counterculture people alike. Older houses were restored, ranches were subdivided, new industry moved into Clarkdale. Rockhounds, amateur archaeologists, weekend vacationers, and photographers moved in. Soon, the choice areas had climbed in price. Now many newcomers had to settle for a concrete slab in a mobile home subdivision to satisfy their dream for a Shangri-La. For the tourist, the valley's attractions have been changed too. The sheer volumes of people visiting the valley, especially on weekends and on such holidays as Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day, have produced ironic results. A rural setting nearly as crowded as a city street. The situation could well worsen. Already, the U.S. Forest Service has a plan to control use of the nearby Sycamore Canyon wilderness area. This plan tentatively includes admission permits, visitor control, and a loop trail with restricted camping or picnicking privileges. Many motion pictures filmed in the Verde Valley have portrayed the area as rugged and durable, a formidable challenge for man. But contrary to this popular belief, Arizona is a fragile land, more vulnerable than durable. Indiscriminate use of off-the-road vehicles can easily cause widespread erosion. The Verde Valley's surrounding walls make it a natural trap for polluted air. However, there appears to be a deep-seated and sincere human desire to be in a beautiful natural environment, getting off, away from the city with the family and friends, enjoying the wind in one's face, cooking a meal over an open fire. The appetite for these pleasures seems to be with us to stay. Ironically, most of the people who wish to escape the city and get back to nature cannot give up many of the comforts which a technological society has made possible and which characterize their city life. From Chicago or Los Angeles or Phoenix, they bring to Sedona or Cottonwood a continuing dependence on convenience foods, modern entertainment, disposable utensils, big cars, and air conditioning. The influx of people is changing the Verde Valley from a rural, slow-paced area into a familiar suburbia. A retired executive may want to hike along the West Fork of Oak Creek, but he also wants to spend a Sunday morning at one of the valley's 3 golf courses. Art galleries, gourmet restaurants, and fashion boutiques abound. Harsher urban traits have developed in the valley too. Drug usage, rocky marriages, and confused, antagonistic young people have increased greatly. No matter how powerful their dream for a new Eden may be, the apron strings of habit and conditioning have left people tied to their previous urban lifestyle. These mixed feelings produce contradictory attitudes. It is not unusual to hear a Verde Valley resident say, "I came here to get away from traffic congestion, crime, look-alike subdivisions, and unimaginative architecture. Now I want to do all I can to help the Verde Valley grow." These attitudes have changed the area greatly. Jerome's shops and restaurants no longer resemble Jerome's original businesses. Rather than serving the basic, practical needs of miners, the town's boutiques and cafes cater to the quaint, nostalgic tastes of tourists. Old-timers believe that change has its assets and liabilities. They generally agree, however, that the valley's good life is in danger. Some feel that the area has already been incurably spoiled. Oak Creek's water is no longer pure enough to drink. Collectors and vandals have removed or destroyed the relics of ancient pueblos. The land has scars, while political antagonism has become greater, replacing an earlier harmony. Real estate offices, mobile home sales lots, and shopping centers, more than sunsets, red rocks, and green stream beds now command attention. People who moved to the valley only a few years ago are leaving because, as they put it, all these newcomers have spoiled it. Dr. Frank Matthews, professor of the humanities at Northern Arizona University, had this to say about the nature of the Verde Valley's growth.
From the point of view of a humanist, the problems faced by the people of the Verde Valley are not at all new. Some of these value conflicts have been matters of concern since the days of classical Greece. Aristotle, for example, who advocated moderation in all things, was an early spokesman for compromise and balance, a kind of trade-off, if you will. And one humanistic dilemma now apparent in the Verde Valley is the conflict between individual freedom and the quality of community life. One cannot, for example, develop a shopping center with total disregard for those who come to the valley to get away from the city. You have to trade a certain amount of freedom for regulation to protect the rights of all. A second dilemma is ambivalence on the part of people who want the full benefits of both city and country living. But what happens, and is inevitable, is that the benefits of the country lifestyle disappear, and the result is always a spoiling of the unspoiled. So it may be necessary here to go back to land management, to some zoning, to setting aside a wilderness area, to planning for residential development, if the rights of all are to be understood and protected.
Arizona's Verde Valley has become an example of America's struggle to protect a citizen's right to live where and how he chooses, and at the same time protect the country's natural virtues, qualities which most people agree are public and should be preserved for our descendants. But there are people for whom only the profits of unlimited and immediate exploitation matter. Recent Arizona real estate fraud scandals have involved the Verde Valley extensively. Some developments get very little beyond the planning stage. This, for instance, was to be a golf course. Statistics project that Arizona's population will rise from 2 million in 1975 to 5.8 million by the year 2000. Some projections indicate that the Verde Valley will become the state's third largest metropolitan area. Superintendent of Mingus Union High School and president of the Verde Valley Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Henry Byrkit, is especially concerned about the valley's future. Several of his proposed bond issues have failed to be approved by the district's voters.
The school was built, this high school was built 4 years ago. We entered the school in 1971. It would accommodate 700 students at that time. Of course, we've stretched that point to 842 as of now, and next year it'll go to about 900 and some to take care of all the students in the area at the present time. It looks like the projection by 1980 or 82 will be around 1,300 and some students. Light industry to this area is a must. We're going to have to try to do all we can to bring it in. By 1982 to 85, there could be 80,000 people in the Union High School district. There's been a lot of talk about using the buildings over at the old Clarkdale smelter and using that for quite heavy industry, not just light industry. The demand for it, for areas such as ours, is going to become greater for industry. If the assessed valuation of this district grows, right now it's at $32 million, and it should grow, and if that base grows up to over $50 million, then you're going to have a good tax base.
Mr. Byrkit needs a broader tax base to provide a sound education for the area's young people. Ironically, more industry will mean more students and more overcrowded conditions. What is more, the effect of industrialization and its attendant urbanization on the quality of life will be no different than it has been elsewhere. Meanwhile, the citizens' refusal to pass school bonds reflects the general attitude the Valley's citizens have toward taxation and governmental control. The Valley's voters have supported strongly political leaders who are against planning, and most voters oppose the current philosophy which supports pro-environmental laws and land use control. However, some citizens have made an effort to limit commercializing sites where nature's beauty abounds. Requests for permits to develop private camping areas and recreational vehicle parks at Red Rock Crossing and at Cornville were stopped by protests from local property owners. Sedona's citizens have organized an environmentally conscious group called Keep Sedona Beautiful. In addition, the University of Arizona maintains an extension service designed to aid long-range planning in the valley. Bill Coffey heads the project.
It's a beautiful place. People move here because they like to get out of the hustle, bustle, and the cold climate. They like to just take off their tie and relax. We can support darn near as many people as pour into the valley. We can move in 100,000 people in the valley easily, but you know, then you're going to have a lot of problems. I'm predicting it'll grow. It's a very attractive area. I've heard a lot of them say that we wish we could put a fence around it. It's kind of the last settler syndrome. You know, I'm here, let's block everybody else out and keep it nice. We don't know how to live in harmony with each other. nor do we know what to do with our natural resources. We haven't gotten to the point where we can cope with these problems yet. I think we will some way. You know, a happy medium can be struck. The thing that will prevent them from coming here is whenever, well, for instance, this equals the kind of climate you got in Chicago. Why come here anymore if you've got the same thing you're leaving? I think whenever we goof it up to the point we don't want it anymore, that's when it quits, and I can't tell you how long it'll be. The way it's going right now in Arizona, unless we turn some of our land use problems and so forth around, it's not going to take too long till nobody wants to come here.
But Bill Coffey also knows how hard it will be to regulate growth in the Verde Valley.
People resent planning. This is another reason a lot of people move out here. You know, they come out here and do what the hell they want to do, and essentially no regulations or restrictions.
Paul Dyke, an internationally known artist, has painted, farmed, and lived on his isolated Verde Valley ranch for more than 35 years. He has strong feelings about his relationship with the valley.
I started out in South Dakota in 1934. I was living with the Sioux people at the time. I was married to a Sioux girl. And working as a cowboy at 36 below zero wasn't very entertaining. So I've decided to come down to Arizona, have a look-see, and see if Arizona still had the freedom and the friendliness of the West. I came to Tucson in 1936 for a look-see and bought this ranch in 1938. This country was quite open and very beautiful at the time. I had to walk in here, and I got on this hill east of here and looked down the canyon, and I really felt like old Brigham Young. My Lord, this is it. There was no road into the canyon. All these roads, I've put them in, and the first ones just by hand with a crowbar and a pick and some dynamite. Lots of work has gone into here. So the years spent here, as wonderful as they were as a way of life, they did not come cheap. The changes are fantastic, because from now on, I'm afraid we are going to be living in a city, and there will be houses or trailers right up to our fence. What is it going to be 10 years from now? This will be absolutely unbearable. That's our way of life. We just do not like to admit it, but we are destroyers. Part of the Indian religion is that it would be murder to cut open your mother's breast. They recognize the importance of Mother Earth to your own life, because without Earth, where would you be? No white man can conceive this idea of respecting nature. Today, people are clearing pieces of land just for a trailer or for a house. They bring a bulldozer in here without any kind of regulation. Just chop off the top of a hill. In this particular valley in 1886, there was grass right up to a horse's belly. I'm just glad I came in my own time.
When asked if there was any price he would take for his ranch, Dyke expressed strong feelings.
No way. I haven't got any place to go because my world has disappeared. My world is right here.
Bill Coffey has learned that some people have already realized the need for planning of some kind.
A lot of them have said, you know, my God, why can't the town or the county or somebody do something about this? They're putting trailer houses all around me, or somebody's dumping their garbage in the gully. That isn't different than what I left at home. We got away from that, and lo and behold, we got the same problems out here. I imagine there are many people who are beginning to realize that If they're going to maintain any kind of quality of life, they're going to have to look to some kind of planning and regulations. Nobody likes to be regulated, and I venture that it's going to be quite a while before we get over that hang-up.
Much evidence shows that the good life which people seek in the Verde Valley may already have been lost. But if saving it is possible, some effort must be made soon to find a solution to the existing cultural, environmental trade-off problem. I believe that what is at issue here is the future of the quality of life in this valley. Charles Stemmer, a Verde Valley pioneer who was born at nearby Ash Creek, Arizona in 1883, once said, "When civilization moves in, nature moves out." Charlie Stemmer would have agreed, no doubt, that if they want to preserve the valley's natural, archaeological, and historical characteristics, then the people of the Verde Valley must discover and accept those sacrifices which will bring a lasting solution to the existing trade-off dilemma. This conflict is created, apparently, when American frontier values are faced with the impact of change. Only firm restraint and thoughtful, unemotional discussion will lead to this solution.
People resent planning.
We just do not like to admit it, but we are destroyers.
Light industry to this area is a must.
I'm just glad I came in my own time.
And the result is always a spoiling of the unspoiled.
By 1982 to 85, there could be 80,000 people in the Union High School district.
We don't know how to live together in harmony with each other. I think whenever we goof it up to the point we don't want it anymore, that's when it's quits.
We used to come here in the springtime, when the cottonwoods were on the fly, and we'd lie on our backs in a pure and crystal canyon stream, and watch the eagles dancing in the sky.